And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. I believe it's the 11th. It's August. It's 2026. Hope you're having a good day. As always, this is serious talk on everything that affects you. We'll do the markets, the economy, your job, your industry, the Morlocks in D.C. A lot of crap going on today, ladies and gentlemen. I'll explain in a minute. We'll do corruption and scams and shams and lottery. The Powerball's $1 billion now. I'm going to play it for tomorrow. As much as I'm being a hypocrite because I say it's the biggest scam the government's ever perpetrated on us, besides Social Security. Anyway, if you do not get this radio show in your city, we'll post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our X feed. And if you don't follow us on X, you should. And if you'd like to email us, just be nice. It's simple as that. Why? We'll be nice. We'll be respectful, as long as you're respectful. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to start out with a story. Listen to me carefully, and you'll see where I'm going with this. Lehman Brothers. You remember them, right? You remember Lehman Brothers? I'm glad you do. Only 3% of Lehman Brothers' revenue came from the subprime mortgages everyone blames for killing it. In 2007, the firm made $4.2 billion in profit, the best year it ever had. 9 months later, it filed for the largest bankruptcy in history. But here is the number that actually killed it. As I stated, in 2007, Lehman announced the best year in its history, $4.2 billion on revenues of more than $19 billion, a profit of $4.2 billion. It managed a pool of assets worth $640 billion. It was the fourth largest firm of its kind in America. The cause: subprime mortgages. In 2007, subprime was only 3% of the firm's total revenue. So the idea that Lehman went all in on these products is just not true, or a misunderstanding. It is not what killed the firm, in case you did not know. Now let's go back to the $640 billion of assets. That number means nothing until you ask how much of it Lehman actually owned. The real equity was only $22 billion on a good day. Everything else was debt. Asset prices will rise and fall. Debt does not. And it's the same thing with a house. If you put down 3% on an investment property, if prices rise 10%, you have more than quadrupled your money. If prices fall 3%, everything you put in is now gone. And you still owe the interest. That's what happened to Lehman. The mortgage department was not even a big earner. The actual profit from lending to ordinary people, bundling the loans and selling them to institutions were not very big. So to hit the returns the CEO wanted, it borrowed heavily to handle more loans at once. There were two assumptions that made that look safe. One, was the firm held a loan only about a month before it bundled it with thousands of other loans and sold it away. Second part, these were mortgages. Worst case, a mortgage forecloses, they sell the house. That reasoning had them push leverage far past what is allowed anywhere else without raising red flags. Both assumptions ended up wrong. Rates rose, home sales slowed, and prices fell. Remember, Bernanke said housing prices never fall. So selling a house no longer covered the mortgage. Oh crap. Investors lost their appetite for mortgage bonds. So Lehman could not sell them anymore. They had to stick with them. It was getting high on its own supply. It was also keeping the worst loans on purpose. They held the riskiest, highest yielding bonds itself because they paid as much as 12%, while the firm could borrow money at 4%. Free money, pure profit. But by September that year had an inventory of bad loans nobody would buy. Without selling them, it could not meet the next day's debt repayment. On Friday the 12th that month of September, every head of Wall Street banks were called to the Fed to decide to do what to do with Lehman. The CEO of Lehman was not invited. Bear Stearns had been bailed out 5 months earlier, and people were already furious. An election was weeks away, and no one won votes by rescuing Wall Street. Guess what happened to Lehman? Bye-bye. But leverage is not the whole story. Economy was in trouble, and all that crap. Why am I bringing this all up today? A reminder. There is a massive, gargantuan amount of debt being put upon this whole artificial intelligence thingamabob. We are not making any predictions at all. We're just stating facts, not opinion, facts. You can go search your AI right now. How much debt does Oracle have? How much debt and stock offering has Google done? And go check for yourself. How about this one? How much debt is off the books of these companies, even though it should be on the books? And you will see what I'm talking about. The one thing your handsome and buffed host has is a very good memory. I remember those days like it's yesterday. And I've always wondered if the same mistakes of debt and leverage are made again. And again, we are not predicting anything, but we are certainly outlining how much debt is off the books of AI companies. $1.65 trillion. Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and Oracle. $1.65 trillion in off-balance sheets obligations tied to AI infrastructure, surpassing the $1.35 trillion they officially report. Just letting you know. Why am I bringing this up? I just happen to be on that Visionary Minds. I've mentioned that to you on Instagram. Has great stories of companies and success stories, but every now and then of failures. And why the failures? So just letting you know, debt killed Lehman. Up next, today's markets and whatever else. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. By the way, let me read something to you. How does the hidden debt works? And I'm asking also, how is it allowed? Companies set up legally distinct joint ventures or subsidiaries to borrow money for whatever it may be. In this case, data center construction. Because tech giants hold minority equity stakes or structure deals as tenants, the primary debt stays off their core financial statements. Let me explain my thought on that. I think that sucks. I think the accounting rules should be they cannot do what they are doing. Anyway, it's only 1.65 trillion. What can go wrong? And we're not wishing bad. We only hope for the positive. But we are realists, not just optimists. And we'll see how it goes. Right? We'll see how it goes. All I know is, as I was reading at this Visionary Minds place on Instagram and reading about Lehman, all I kept thinking about was 1.65 trillion of debt. On top of 1.35. Oh, that's $3 trillion of debt. Let me repeat that. $3 trillion of debt. They were able to put out $3 trillion of debt. If I was a big owner of that debt, I'd be scared crapless and drinking champagne every time I got paid. Just my take. Dow was down 184. And maybe it's me, but there's so many weird moves. Today, Google was down 13 and change. And every day there's different news. You never know which one hits it and stuff like that. But today it was, well, they changed their name to Alphabet, but okay, Google will call it. I like Google instead. That stuck out to me a little bit. SpaceX, you know what stuck out? It broke back below the $135 IPO. It was down $5.70. Not the biggest of deals. And I love how in the last 3 minutes, they rallied it up $2. Last 4 minutes. Somebody was stalking, I guess. The S&P down 25, Nasdaq 159, Nasdaq 196, but I will say that the SOX was up 104. It was up 200 and change, then only up like 20 or 30. In the last few minutes, they popped that back up a little bit. As I have said to you, the semis are off the lows, potentially setting up in a pattern we call a head and shoulders, but an inverted one. Yeah, I know. But most semiconductor stocks don't act great. Just letting you know. What stuck out today also, it was announced yesterday, and just so you know, let me preface it, that Nvidia and these private equity companies that announce a potential for $500 billion of this, that, and the other thing does not have to happen, and it could be over many years. I can tell you that BlackRock was up 17 today. Yeah, 1.5%. Blackstone was up 5.5%, up 3%. KKR was up 7 today, about 6%. So some of these private equity stocks that have been hit pretty damn hard had a good day on something that has potential for artificial intelligence and Nvidia and what's next and all that. I think the guy that has run Nvidia, fabulous success story. Fabulous. I'm not a fan of his marketing right now. Just remember, he created one of these off-balance sheet entities and funded it with a couple of $2 billion, had a private equity company fund it with a few $1 billion of debt, and the entity is buying Nvidia's product. Not a fan at all. And I'm hoping for the best. But I got to tell you, there's some weird crap going on. It won't stop me from buying into these areas when I feel they're appropriate and they're backing up trends and setting up well and things like that. But there's some weird crap and some seriously weird numbers. Serious weird numbers being put out there. This AI stuff better be the second coming of profits when all is said and done. And I know it sounds like I'm talking negative, but I really am an optimist. $3 trillion of debt? Trillion? Trillion? Okay. Okie doke. We'll look at it that way. Moving on. And we're going to go a little bit back and forth today. I just want to let you know that for the month of July, I'll have a number on that up next. On this, the one only Investor's Edge. Okay. Let's see what else today. Gold pulled back a little bit. Silver pulled back a little bit. Bitcoin was down again, and I got to tell you, it better not break the last 10 weeks lows. I saw another jackass out today, and when I say jackass, I'm being nice, talking about what Bitcoin's going to do. I'm yelling at the TV, go screw yourself. By the way, I actually yelled at the TV, go screw yourself, when I saw that. Just wanted to let you know, for July of 2026, the conservative Republican Party that's in power, headed by Donald Trump, ran a $431 billion deficit for the month. Just want to let you know. $431 billion. Now, if you put that out every month, you're at 5 trillion. No, that's not going to happen, I don't think. Better not. But I do want to let you know that conservative Republican administration and Republican Party this year will run a $2.2 trillion plus deficit. So when they call the other side right now, boy, they're driving to the hoop, socialist and Marxist. 2.2 trillion of deficit defines socialist and Marxist. Just wanted to let you know. But that takes me to the other side. Yes, we're on the elections. I voted yesterday in my district. I am independent, but I vote Republican because I am registered Republican, not vote Republican, registered Republican, so I can vote in the primaries. Anyway, I noticed these sickos on the left. And when I use the word sicko, I actually have another word in mind. I'm not going to mention a person's name because there's somebody out there that's become very famous with a podcast and whatever, and is actually, I'll quote him, America deserved 9/11. You can go look up who. The guy's a scumbag. He's a dirtbag. He's a piece of crap. I shouldn't be putting down the crap. Yet, there are candidates on the left calling this person up who said America deserved 9/11 and campaigning with him. And they've won their primary and have a good chance to win elections. What in blue hell is going on with voters out there when somebody who's campaigning with somebody who said America... Do you feel my frustration? And don't get me wrong, I can't stand this Republican Party. I am no fan of this administration and their corruption and I can't stand any of them. There's nobody left. But there's also levels, isn't there? To defund the police. You got this woman that her whole embodiment has been, we should get rid of Thanksgiving. No, not kidding. Because it's colonialism. Valentine's Day is bad. We need to defund the police and get rid of jails. Now she's coming out and saying, well, that was then. So her whole being is one way, but now that she's... Yet they're winning. And I'm thinking to myself logically, how the hell are they winning? And do you know what I realize? Because the other side sucks also. You think the Republicans can defend themselves on corruption and self-dealing and the president making billions with his family? You can defend that? 2.2 trillion deficits? Defend that? I can go on, but I'll stop there. Anyway, just letting you know, it is a cesspool at this juncture. And by the way, the $431 billion for July, as I put it on the Republican Party, you get there by both parties. But it's demoralizing. And, I've really been thinking now about running. But I also am a realist. They drowned my ass out. Imagine if I won in Congress this November, and I went there and started talking about budget deficits. I'd be excommunicated by the Republican Party. You can't talk about that. It makes us look bad. Yeah. Yeah. What about it? Imagine if I won in Congress and I started talking about the billions the president's made. I'm screwed. That's why no Republican talk about it or you're excommunicated. Anybody who's ever said a bad word about him lost elections. Anyway. Tidbits. By the way, that Visionary Minds, great Instagram place. Great Instagram place. And Instagram really has some good value in there. I'm going to read more as we go forward. Just talks about all kinds of companies and all kinds of success stories and failures. You should stay on top of that. Visionary. Oh, by the way, it's Visionary Y Minds. Just letting you know. That's the... I don't know why they have two Y's in there. Tidbits. I just want to let you know a few things. The S&P 500 dividend yield is at the lowest level in history. It used to mean something. I don't know if it means as much now because companies are buying back stock versus dividends, but it's at 1.04%, the S&P's dividend yield. That showed up. Just letting you know. That was part of my little tidbits today. And you know, the rest of my tidbits today, I think I did a couple of these already. Indicators saying that we're at a 15-year high. Okay. Here's a tidbit. Great line. If you take $500 from someone who works and give $100 to 5 people who do not work and are just plain lazy, then you lost 1 vote but gained 5 votes. This is how socialists win. So somebody sent that to me. And if you can't tell, we're getting closer to the election where the Republicans will be losing the House. And because of stupidity on the Republican part, putting in a moron in Texas may lose the Senate. But I don't think they're going to lose the Senate. But they're losing the House. Going away. The president declined to rule out declaring a national security emergency to control the 2026 election. If he does that, I think he's polling 20% on the independents. He'll go down to 0. And he will go down in history as something. Just letting you know. He declined to rule that out. That is un-frickin' believable. Hey, up next, we'll segue back on the markets. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. Da-da-da. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. Sticking out today, better bid in artificial intelligence and semis, but really not a lot of leadership there, but recoveries, little better today. I'm quite agnostic except to say we'll see. How about that for conviction? Oil stocks, particularly the refiners, had another strong day. And even though, there's announcement after announcement after announcement about this, that, and the other thing with Iran that supposedly were positive today, oil prices ticked up another $1.50 today. That would not be good news if that continues. Yields fell just modestly today. As we've said to you, we do not want to see the 10-year yield heading for 5%. Is at 4.684. The good news is, I'm not going to say good news. Let's just say it's hanging. It's hanging. Apple gapped down to the downside recently on their earnings report and has done nothing good since. A break of the $300 mark would not be good news. Closed a little below 305 today, just letting you know. And do not forget, when Apple was leading, we posed the question about whether there's a lot of parking there while they were crushing the semis. And what is parking? Well, when other technology areas are so bad, the institutions look for the biggest, lowest beta and most, what word am I looking for? Something that you can trust. They jumped on Apple. And Apple went straight up from 273 to 344 in a matter of weeks. And of course, it now has its comeuppance, and we'll keep you apprised on how it goes. The big question I continue to get is on SpaceX and on Bitcoin. I don't know why I keep getting questions on Bitcoin when it's been the bear market since last November. I'm hoping it's not because you're stuck in a lot of it. Remember, we are agnostic on where it goes. We don't know where it's going to go. We just know when something's in a bear market. And if IBIT breaks below the last 10 weeks, it'll invite more selling. Simple as that. If it can break above 38, maybe it can rally up some more. But we are letting you know the shills are out. They're talking their own book. They're lying to you. 1.5 million. By 2000. Sure. Because everything goes up 20 some odd fold in 3.5 years. Ass clowns. And SpaceX. We're just agnostic on it. We were asking for pullbacks. We got one today, but to where we don't know. We'd like, what we would love of SpaceX? To sit around for a month and set up. Remember, patterns in the market only play out over time, and this one just came out, and it crashed after it came out. And notwithstanding, you had 3 strong days up leading into today. It's too tough to gauge just yet. The only time we had edge, and it was a guess, we thought it would invite selling breaking below 150 because that's where everybody got in the aftermarket. And we figured they wouldn't have tolerance after dropping from 225. And then when it broke the IPO, 135, and it went down to 105. And again, it just went back above 135 and dropped below it again today. Now, I do want you to know how investment bankers work. They're trying to get Anthropic public soon at a big valuation. You know how you get a big valuation? You make sure the last big IPO works, and so far it has not. We'll keep a close watch. The amount of analysts and talk to get that stock back up, talking trillions, was about as noisy as we have seen in a very long time. I don't think anything happens by surprise on Wall Street. Boy, were they out in droves, including Elon. And we're not questioning. We'll see how it plays out. They're saying they're going to go from 20 billion in revenues to $1 trillion by 2030. 50-fold. That would be one hell of a success story if that were to occur. That would be a big wow. Fiftyfold. We'll keep watching. We hope we're around when 2030 comes. Anything else sticking in our craw? Not really. Just a lot of mush. Indices performed very well last week off of more peace talks or whatever, and we'll see what comes from here. There's a lot of talk about strong earnings, just so you know. It's very concentrated, very strong earnings that are making everything else. Just letting you know. Productivity gains because of AI, that's a question mark. Many people are saying yes. I do not know. I have not been able to figure it out just yet. Hey, that all said, you have a great evening. Drive carefully. Adam will be doing the show tomorrow. I'll be on a flight. And when you get home, do like I do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family, hug your children. They will feel better. You'll feel better. I promise. Stay well. Be well. Take care of yourselves. Good night.